The smoke of battle clearing from the House of Commons after PMQs. Let's get more reaction now. Our political reporter Olivia Utley is down there at Westminster. And Olivia, our panel here in the studio declaring a score draw, but it was pretty spirited stuff as well.
It was spirited stuff, and from the people I've been talking to, everyone's quite interested that Starmer went so hard there on immigration. In former days, the Labour Party has been seen as the weaker party on immigration, and definitely under Corbyn, the focus would have been on what migrants are suffering in the Manston Centre. Instead, Keir Starmer was very, very bold about defending Britain's borders, but felt a little bit as though Labour had managed to steal the Tories' clothes. It was also quite interesting the extent to which Starmer focused on Suella Braverman's performance as the Home Secretary. He clearly feels that Braverman and Sunak's political futures are now wound up together, and without Braverman, Sunak would lose the right of the party and therefore wouldn't be in a very fit state to govern. There are those close to Sunak who think that that's not the case, who think that by giving Braverman the opportunity, Sunak has sort of done his bit. And if Braverman fails to solve this crisis and becomes hoisted by her own petard, then it won't really be Sunak's problem. But actually, from the people I've been talking to, they say that their constituents feel that ultimately it's the Prime Minister who is responsible for the immigration crisis. And if Rishi Sunak isn't seen to fix it, then it's him who's going to bear the brunt of the blame across the country.
Well, let's just remind ourselves, Olivia, of the key exchanges and we'll come back and talk more. Let's get a reminder now of what happened in the chamber.
His Home Secretary says the asylum system is broken. Who broke it?
Mr. Speaker, we can look at the record on migration policy. Let's look at it. What did we on this side of the House do? We gave the British people a referendum on Brexit. We delivered Brexit. We ended the free movement of people, Mr. Speaker. That's our record on migration policy. It's not something the honourable gentleman supported. He opposed it at every turn, and it's not what the British people want.
The Rwanda deal was launched in April. It cost the taxpayer £140 million and rising. The number of people deported to Rwanda is zero. Since then, 30,000 people have crossed the channel in small boats. It's not working, is it? He hasn't got a grip.
Mr. Speaker, we on this side of the House are clear that we want to defend our borders. When the Shadow Home Secretary this weekend was asked, she couldn't answer a simple question if the party opposite was in favour of higher or lower migration. It's that simple. The Home Secretary and I, when it comes to tackling on migration, reducing migration, we are on the same page. That party's policy, it's a blank page, Mr. Speaker.
I think the answer to the question whether the Home Secretary received legal advice to move people out of Manston is yes. He just hasn't got the guts to say it. He did a grubby deal with her, putting her in charge of Britain's security just so he could dodge an election. She's broken the ministerial code, lost control of a refugee centre and put our security at risk. She did get one thing right. She finally admitted that the Tories have broken the asylum system. Criminal gangs running amok, thousands crossing the channel in small boats every week, hardly any claims processed. So why doesn't he get a proper Home Secretary, scrap the Rwanda gimmick, crack down on smuggling gangs, end the small boat crossings, speed up asylum claims and agree an international deal on refugees? Start governing for once and get a grip.
Mr. Speaker, the right honourable gentleman rightly raised the topic of national security, because it is important. But this is the person who in 2019 told the BBC, and I quote, "I do think Jeremy Corbyn would make a great Prime Minister." Mr. Speaker, let's remember that national security agenda, abolishing our armed forces, scrapping the nuclear deterrent, withdrawing from NATO, voting against every single anti-terror law we tried, befriending Hamas and Hezbollah. He may want to forget about it, but we will remind him of it every week, because it's the Conservative government that will keep this country safe.
So, noisy stuff in the Commons. Let's go back to the calm of Olivia outside Westminster now. Olivia, a pretty strategic attack by Keir Starmer. Interesting, nothing about screeching U-turns over the COP summit in Egypt, and nothing about going off to the jungle to eat the nether regions of kangaroos.
No, he clearly feels like the immigration problem is the biggest and most important concern facing Rishi Sunak. Some people I've spoken to have said that actually Starmer showed good political nous there, avoiding the COP27 issue, which some people feel is just a sort of Westminster bubble problem. Going so hard there on immigration, he really did put Sunak on the back foot. Sunak did a slick little manoeuvre, which you may have noticed, where he tried to sort of conflate legal immigration and the defence of our borders and Brexit and free movement with illegal immigration, small boats and asylum migrant processing. Those two things, of course, are very different, and it didn't really feel like it held too well with Conservative MPs, because then when Sunak went down his Jeremy Corbyn line — Jeremy Corbyn is a threat to national security, but Keir Starmer campaigned for him — I noticed it didn't land quite as well as it did last week on the Tory party benches. So it felt like that sort of forensic attack, which, as we know, Keir Starmer, the former lawyer, is very, very good at, worked pretty well for him this week, and I think we can expect to see more of that in the weeks ahead.
OK, Olivia, for the moment, thank you indeed for that.